And for the seventh straight time since last year's playoffs, the Orlando Magic do not have any tricks to figure out what they got to do to beat the Toronto Raptors. This is the Airborne Podcast. I'm your host, Ajit, and we're going to break down what went down tonight. And to start things off, Pascal Siakam, Spicy P, did not have the best game. I would say he had the worst game possible. And I forgot which game it was, but there was another game he had that was pretty bad. But this one beats it by a mile. And, he played 40 minutes, but he only had 10 points. He grabbed 13 boards, but he had 5 assists. And he was 4 of 22 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3, and 1 of 3 from the free throw line. He had 3 turnovers, and he had a steal, and he had a plus-minus of 13. Now, as much as I want to talk ish about Pascal Siakam, we got to cut him a break just because he's our number one option, and there's days where he has, a number one option can have those days, you know what I mean? Like Kawhi Leonard had that last year a few times, and even in the playoffs, there was a game where he was sick against Orlando, ironically, in Game 3, and Pascal Siakam was the one to kind of, bail him out, and he had 30 points that game. But STORMIN NORMAN, shout out to Norman Powell. He came out, had a breakout game. After last game, I believe he had 7 points the last game, and he came out and got 33 points today. He had 0 rebounds, which is kind of weird to see, and 1 assist. But he had 2 steals and a block and had 2 turnovers. But he was the reason why the Raptors were able to get momentum to win the ball game tonight. Without him, we would have lost this. It would have been a blowout for sure. And Orlando, the saddest thing to see was the fact that Pascal Siakam was not really that effective, and for them to only be up by a few points. They held us to about, I believe, like 40 points in the first half. But Fred VanVleet, he did his thing. 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 7 of 20 from the field, 5 of 12 from the three-point line, and 3 of 5 from the free throw line. As a team, we did ass from the free throw line. If you guys were watching the whole game, there was a really nice assist that went down with Rondé to Siakam for the easy layup. It was a beauty. Definitely will probably end up on Steve Smith's top 5 plays under the rim. For sure. That assist was nasty. And I mean that with an exclamation mark. Orlando did pretty well on the defensive end in the first half. They did. But, Toronto is just a team that wears people out. And Orlando's not a really good team offensively, especially with Vucevic out and Aaron Gordon coming back from an injury. Jonathan Isaac is definitely a player that's improving as the time goes. And Mo Bamba is getting more time right now with Vucevic out. But overall, Orlando's more defense than offense. And that's their motto. And for them, we were just too much. And that's what it is. With or without Kawhi, we are just a dominant team in the Eastern Conference, and Orlando is just suffering from that regardless whether it's the playoffs or the following season where we're just dominating them. Because we've played them already 3 times in the season, and we're 3-0 against them. And we played them in the playoffs. They beat us the first game with Augustine's lucky shot. And after that, we went straight 4-0. Kind of like what we did to Milwaukee, but, in a more quicker fashion. The good news about the situation right now is the fact that, we were able to hold down the fort with VanVleet and Siakam leading the way. Norman Powell had his moments. OG had his moments. Marcus All had his moments. And Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka are back on their way right now, and they should be back for the next game. hopefully, fingers crossed, against the Utah Jazz. And I'm excited. I want to see how this team gels. You know, the bench mob that we never had, to start the season when people said we didn't have depth is coming through in the crucial moments when we don't have our main stars. And I want to see how everyone gels. Everyone knows their role now. And, Kyle Lowry, before he got injured, was playing a lot of minutes. Fred VanVleet's been playing a lot of minutes. And they found a gem in Terrence Davis, who's undrafted, who's ready to break out. And he's ready to play the point guard position. He's had some nice dimes throughout the time that Kyle Lowry hasn't played. And he could be that point guard that Jeremy Lin wasn't last season, who can take the fort, who has athletic ability, who can go and jam on somebody. And, I trust him because we've seen a nice, decent sample size of him, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, and Chris Boucher to put in that work when we need our older players to put in, not put in, but get some rest. And Serge Ibaka and Kyle Lowry can rest in peace now. Not in that way, but they can sit on the bench without worrying about losing the lead because our bench players, or we can call them the bench mob 2.0, has got valuable minutes to the point that they can play those minutes against real players in the NBA and be able to sustain a lead. That's just how it works. Like, they got the experience now. They've had a month to literally experience that situation, and they're not scared of the moment. And you can see that as they play against the Lakers, the Clippers, the Portland Trail Blazers. It doesn't matter. Like, they're just going crazy right now. And I appreciate the effort that they bring every night to the court. You saw Rondae today. Like, Rondae is just getting offensive boards. I'm pretty sure he has like 30 offensive boards in the last 5 or 6 games, which is crazy to say. Because he was a guy sitting on the bench that Nick Nurse called out. Him and Stanley Johnson were 2 players that the coach called out. And he's coming in and doing this. Now, I wish Stanley Johnson could have the cojones to do what Rondae Hollis is doing. But, it is what it is. And Rondae's doing his thing. But Stanley's going to get cut. And I see it, and I know it, and it's going to happen. And it is what it is. But I was really rooting for that guy, to be honest. Ah, man. Stanley Johnson is a guy that I really thought in the Raptors system with the development team that we have, he would be able to improve. Just like Rondae did. Rondae really had nothing to work on but his three-point shot. But I honestly thought that both those guys went to the same college in Texas. But one came out shining and the other one's injured and sitting on the bench and is on the verge of getting cut. He's sitting on a thin string, on a thin thread. OG didn't have his best game today. He had 2 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. And you know what? These guys really messed up on the free throw line today. They played ish on the free throw line. They missed so many free throws. I didn't even want to begin to say something about that. Terrence Davis didn't have his best game. He had 4 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 of 4 from the field, all 1 from the three-point line, and he didn't take any free throws. Chris Boucher had 7 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 of 4 from the field, all 1 from the three-point line, 3 of 6 from the free throw line. Marc Gasol, usual stat line, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 of 6 from the field goal percentage. 1 of 6 from the field, all 4 from the free throw line. All 4 from the three-point line, and 4 of 4 from the free throw line. Malcolm Miller had 5 minutes, but didn't do anything but get 1 assist. But overall, team-wise, we're going to look into the team stats for both teams. And the Raptors, to be honest, this is probably one of the worst games they ever played. And I'm not even trying to boost that. I'm being dead honest. There was another game, I forgot which one it was, but where they weren't really good offensively, but their defense is what carried them. But this, I could say it was a tale of two halves. And they were really bad on offense and defense in the first half. And Orlando was basically getting whatever they wanted. Field goal percentage-wise, Toronto had they were 37% from the field, and they were 31 out of 84 from the field. And Orlando was 27 of 78 from the field, and they were 35% from the field goal. Oh well, that was their field goal percentage. 3-point percentage-wise, Toronto was only 29%, and they were 11 and 38 from 3-point range. And Orlando was 24% from the 3-point range, and they were 7 of 29. Free throw percentage-wise, this is where the Raptors got killed because they were missing technical free throws. They were missing regular free throws. It didn't matter. They just sucked today. They were 61% from the free throw percentage, and they were 17 of 28. Orlando, on the other hand, was 20% higher. They were 81% from the free throw line, and they were 22 of 27. Turnovers, you know how we do. We usually take care of the ball pretty well. The only thing is, like, we do always have a stretch where we have really bad turnovers. And in total, we had 13 turnovers tonight, and Orlando had 22. Assists-wise, not as high as we have been in the last few games, but we had 21. Orlando has 17. And you know, rebounding has always been a factor for us on the downside. It's been a downside for us. And Orlando took care of business like they had to. They lost the game, but they won the rebounding. And they had 52 rebounds with 13 offensive rebounds. We had 46 with 11 offensive rebounds. Blocks, you saw the first quarter. If you guys watched the game, you saw how many times Mo Bamba was blocking everybody. And they had 11 blocks, and we had 4. Personal fouls, we had 20, they had 19. And technicals, they had 2, we had 1. We didn't capitalize because Pascal Siakam missed one. But it is what it is. And, we're 3-0 against the Magic. Nothing to complain about. You know what the sad thing about this is? Not for the Raptor fans, but the Orlando fans. We played our worst game, and we still came out with the W. That shows how much fight, heart, and energy we have, to win the game. It shows the Raptors are for real. And it doesn't matter if the Orlando Magic aren't a top-tier team, but any team could have given this up based on how they played. The fact that we only scored 40 points in the first half tells you as much as you need to know. 40 in the first half, 50 in the second. And, you could see Siakam had a really bad game. And he's our leading scorer. He's our number one option. And you look at that and you say, how did we come out with the W? Think about that. And I brought up a video yesterday with DeRozan coming back to the team. You think that there's, these guys can, flourish and develop with DeRozan back on the team? Hell no. And our defense is what wins us games. DeRozan's just going to affect that in a negative way. And I don't hate DeRozan. I love the guy. But the point is that he needs to, he's not coming back to the Raptors. That's a fact. But the Raptors are really good at where they are at right now. They're really good in the spot that they're at. And I'm happy for them. And, it's only a positive from here. If we can win these kind of games, the sky's the limit. And I'm proud of the Raptors right now, to be honest. Just seeing them being able to scrap out wins like this only makes their ceiling that much higher, because they don't even have their two of their top scorers, with Ibaka coming off the bench and Lowry being the head of the snake. But yeah, that's gonna do it for now. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you guys enjoy this. If you guys enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel, show your boy that love, and stay tuned, because we'll be back soon with the next post game episode. But yeah, stay blessed, stay woke, and peace.